To this now, the Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, confirmed that the first consignment of vaccines to combat foot and mouth disease has arrived in the country. A major outbreak of the disease across large parts of South Africa has caused red meat price hikes for consumers and bans on exports. Bringing the disease under control is vital amid new legislation that will put stricter regulations on the sale and transport of animals. Our reporter Mariska Botha spoke to Steenhuisen at the first nationwide dialogue with stakeholders, including students at the Elsenburg Agricultural College in Stellenbosch.
We're coming to you from Elsenburg Agricultural College in Stellenbosch, where it seems winter has finally found the Western Cape. It's quite chilly here. And we just stepped out of the room where Minister John Steenhuisen started the first of a national dialogue with various stakeholders across the country. And today he kicked it off here at Elsenburg College, speaking to students, among others, about the issues that pertain to them at these colleges of higher learning for agriculture. But let's start chatting to Minister Steenhuisen. There's a lot to get to. Minister Steenhuisen, thank you very much for joining us. Maybe please start first with foot and mouth disease.
Yes.
We understand that there is vaccines on its way.
Yes, I'm very pleased that Mr. Sarache, the DDG responsible in our department for the foot and mouth prevention mechanisms, has informed me that the vaccines have now crossed the border. They're in South Africa and they will obviously be started to be rolled out across the country. I'll be going on Monday to Gauteng, where we'll be doing some of the vaccinations up there at some of the feedlots. And this is part of our strategy to get foot and mouth under control, and then sit down with the industry to have a discussion around how we can actually have a longer term plan to render us foot and mouth disease free, or to at least demonstrate compartmentalization to the rest of the world, so that we are not compromised in our ability to be able to export our incredibly good beef products and red meat products to the rest of the world.
We understand, and just remind us, this bout of foot and mouth is quite serious. It started in KwaZulu and spread to Gauteng, and there it has had an economic impact in Gauteng.
Yes, not only an economic impact, it's also having an impact on consumers. And I'm sure that people have noticed the price of beef has gone up quite substantially. And that's as a result of supply and demand. Obviously, there was an outbreak at one of the bigger feedlots that supplies into the meat industry in South Africa, and that's obviously led to a compromise on the quantity of beef that is available. I think it's very important to re-emphasize that red meat in South Africa is absolutely safe to eat. Foot and mouth disease does not affect humans in any way, shape or form. And if anything, if anyone wants to help support our farmers, going out and buying beef now is going to be very, very important as we start the vaccination process, the quarantining, and then obviously resuming back to full production at our feedlots and abattoirs as quickly as possible, so that we can bring those prices down and ensure there's a greater quantity going into the market.
To end off on the discussion with foot and mouth, you will start in Gauteng. Do you know how many doses will be administered in the first round?
Well, we've got 900,000 doses that have come in, and we'll obviously start getting those doses out as quickly as possible. We've got a second batch on order with the Botswana Vaccine Institute, so those will come in as well. We're going to start in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, particularly in the disease management area in KwaZulu-Natal, and of course at some of the feedlots in Gauteng, so that we can start ensuring that the food security and the price of food is not affected, and getting those feedlots and abattoirs back up as quickly as possible. But I think this speaks to a broader issue that we need to take more seriously, and that is why we convened last week in Pretoria a biosecurity summit. Biosecurity is something that has to be everybody's responsibility, from the farm gate to the auction house to the abattoir to the final consumer. And we all have a role to play in ensuring that South Africa becomes synonymous with the highest level of biosecurity, and that we adhere to the regulations. I've just gazetted new interim regulations for the movement and sale of animals, and we're going to be obviously strictly enforcing these, and those who break the law must feel the consequences, because there are grave economic consequences if the law is broken in these regards.
Thank you for that. Let's carry on to today. Why this dialogue? Why was it important to your department?
Well, it's Youth Month, of course, June, and obviously there can be no more important youth for us in the agri-space than our agricultural students, who are going to be the farmers of the future when they graduate here. And so it's very important to understand our department has just recently been given the responsibility for the agricultural colleges. And it's obviously important for me as the minister to listen to some of the challenges that are facing those young students at the agricultural colleges. And it's really a mixed bag. You've got places like Elsenburg, the really world-class facilities. But some of the other agricultural colleges have been allowed to fall into a state of neglect. And it's not fair on those students who are wanting to study in the agricultural space to be in facilities that are not up to standard. And so we've had a very good discussion about curriculum, about how we link graduates from agricultural colleges with the value chains. And there's been some really good ideas that have come from the students themselves about what can be done. The big one for students is a funding model. And obviously I now have to have interactions with the Minister of Higher Education to discuss how we can ensure that the funding model that's available to students in other academic institutions is also made available to students at agricultural colleges. And this is important. And I think that anybody who doubts the importance of agriculture has had that completely disabused by the first quarter GDP statistics, which has shown that it is agriculture that's propping up our economy in South Africa. It's agriculture that's leading the way with growth. And so the more trained agriculturalists we can get out into the field, the better we can ensure that we have a growing economy and we're creating more job opportunities for more South Africans. And agriculture can lead the way in that regard.
Thank you very much. That was Minister John Steenhuisen from the Department of Agriculture discussing with us his engagement and dialogue with students and principals, as you heard there, about the very serious issues that colleges face around the country. And this was just the opening round to get it started, to understand what are some of those problems. But also very importantly, Minister mentioned there that the first vaccines have arrived and they will start administering these doses by as early as next week. So that certainly brings a light at the end of the tunnel of this very, very serious outbreak of foot and mouth disease that has had a great impact on meat producers across the country, bans on exports. So definitely getting a handle on this is one of the first priorities that the Department of Agriculture is facing right now. But with that, it's back to you in the studio.